Hello everybody, welcome to this new project video, and in this one I got interested into this ad which used Droplet to create a character moving, and I tried to recreate this effect inside Touchdesigner. So this is my try on it, and as well a try where I use mainly tops to do it. I feel like there will be easiest way to do it with chop and surface operator, but I thought with tops it could be fun, and we could learn a few things on the way. So let's dive into it. So first thing we are going to do is to open a new project, and we are going to create a first instance UV grid in order to create our matrice. So I'm going to put a GLSL. Into this GLSL I'm going to copy vuv.st, get rid of this line, and I'm going to output vec4 vuv.st for R and G channel, 0 for blue and 1 for alpha. So now we have one UV grid. We are going to add a constant, and this constant we want the resolution of our first grid, so we are going to call it res, and for now we are going to put 64. So we want a UV grid of 64 by 64. So in the GLSL in command page I'm going to say 32-bit float RGBA, nearest pixel and nearest pixel in input smoothness and viewer smoothness, and I'm going to add a null at the end of this constant, and in GLSL I'm going to set the resolution to 64 by 64. So now we have one grid, and what I want to do is to create a matrice to have several grids in a row to display the effect. So in order to do that, first I'm going to put a null at the end, and it's going to be the position. I'm going to call it null pose. And now what I want to do in order to have a grid of layer, for instance I'm going to say I want 20 layers, so I'm going to add new constant layers, and I'm going to say for instance 20 layer, and what I want to do is to duplicate this grid 20 times in the z-axis. So to do so, I'm going to first insert a transform, and this transform top in the command page I'm going to set custom resolution, and I'm going to use 64 by 64, but the first one will be multiplied by 20, the number of layer. So what I'm going to do is to do this, copy the second one and multiply both of them. So the resolution, and then in output aspect I'm gonna say resolution, and I'm going to say nearest pixel, and right now it extended, so what I want in tile is to repeat, and then in transform the scale will be 1 divided by the number of layer we want, so it will be in scale 1 divided by 20. So now we have 20 layers, and I'm gonna set an offset of -0.5 in the translate, and in the scale I'm going to choose the last option. So we first translate and then we scale it. And now if I activate the viewer, we still have only one grid, but each point is set 20 times. So now what I want to do is to offset it till 1, for instance, 20 times. So to do so, I'm going to add a ramp, and in this ramp, in the output pages, I'm going to set resolution only, and then I'm going to insert a reorder, and this reorder will take the ramp as the second input, and it will drive the output parameters. So I'm going to choose output blue, input 2. So now if I activate the viewer in my reorder and I say view as points, you can see we do have 20 layer of our UV map. But then if I right click and say top viewport, you can see they are not parallel. They are linear, so it's not what I want. I want perfect matrice. So to do so, I'm going to insert a level after my ramp. And in step, I'm going to apply stepping, and the step will be 1 divided by 20. So step size, I'm going to drop down this one and divide it by 1, or 1 divided by this one. And now you can see we have a perfect UV grid. So this is for the grid. Now that we have our system, I'm going to instance it. So I'm going to add a point. I'm going to convert to vertical power points, and render as point sprite. And I'm going to connect to it a geo, and then into this geo instance, I activate the instancing. I drop down the translate OP null position RGB, and I'm going to add a point sprite material, drop it down on the geo parameters material, add a camera, then a render top, and after the render top, RGB key. So now our shape is a bit offset by 1, so I can change that right after the GLSL. I'm going to add a point transform, and in point transform I'm going to offset by minus 0.5 and minus 0.5, so it's more centered. And my render, I'm going to use 1280 by 1280. And then I'm going to zoom a bit in with my camera. So now you can see we have a UV grid, a UV matrice, and next step is I want to instance my moving character onto this grid in order to get droplet effect. So first thing I'm going to do is to go to the website Mixamo in order to download the character. So first thing we'll need is a 3D character, and to that I'm going to go on Mixamo, which is a free rig animating website. I'm going to choose a model of running, and I'm going to click on in place, so it stays in place. And I'm going to download the model. I'm just going to choose 60 frames per second. Format will be FBX with skin, and I'm going to download it. If you want to change the skin of it, you can upload your own character and own 3D model. For this tutorial, I'm just going with default skin. So I'm going to download it, and then we are going to jump into Touchdesigner. So now that we have our model downloaded, we are going to drag and drop it into our project. And now it creates a FBX component, and in this FBX component, in the X form, I want to reduce the scale to 0.001, and I want it to be turned on the y-axis by 90 degrees. And so now what I want to do is to find the depth information of this character from both sides, and to use this depth information in order to create the color map and scale map of the particles of this 3D matrice. So I'm going to add a camera, and then a render top. And this render top is going to use cam2, and as the geometry only running, so our FBX component. And I will zoom in it, but first I want, like, this render top will have the same definition as one instance of our UV grid, so the definition will be 64 by 64. And then I'm going to zoom in with my camera to 0.23 and go up a bit so we can have our figure maybe to something like 0.085. And what we want now is to get the information of depth of this part of the character. So I'm going to drop down a depth operator, and I'm going to put the render on top of it. And I'm not going to use depth texture. It could be doable, but because I want to be able to have more control over it, I'm going to use 32-bit float RGBA and rearrange from camera space. And so the range we want is 0. And because our camera is 0.23 offset on the axis, I'm going to put 0.23. So now that we have our depth map, what I want to do is to extract each layer of our model. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to add constant, which will be like one side of the layer, or not constant, but I'm going to create a matte. And I'm going to select before the matte, and I'm going to select layers. And to the mass, I'm going to into multi-odd, I'm going to divide it by 2. And I'm going to merge it. Oh, and into select layer, I'm going to call it half layer. And I'm going to merge those. So because this is the view of only one side, we want it to be only 10 layers. So after the depth map, I'm going to use the level. And this level, I'm going to invert it, and into step, what I want to do is to have the number of step of the number of layer, half of the layer. So I'm going to drop down 10 half layer, and I'm going to say 0.1 divided by this number. So we have steps of step size of 0.01. And now what I want to do is to peel off all this layer. So I'm going to add a threshold. And into this threshold, if I move the luminance, you can see I can, by step, really have like each layer. So I want 10 layers, so I will need 10 threshold. So either I can say, okay, this layer, when threshold is 0, I got all the information, so it will be the central, the last sample of the central, or how to say it, like the 10th layer of my system. But what I really want to, and the last one will be the one with only one information, one data. I could either try to find it by hand and find like the perfect value. Either we can find a way to see which layer is in front and what is value for the threshold for the luminance. So it will actually be the brightest pixel of the system as it's moving. So we are going to set system to find which value we need there. So after the level, I'm going to put an analyze, and I don't want average, but I want maximum in RGB. And then this analyze top, I'm going to transform it to a top 2, and I don't need all channel, I just need one as it's monochrome. So I'm going only to take R channel, and I'm going to analyze this to get the maximum value. And to do so, because the system is moving, I'm first going to set up a trail. Right now the trail analyze for 4 seconds, which is plenty enough for this system as it's a short animation, but yeah, you should adapt it depending on your animation. And this, I'm going to analyze it as well. And in the analyze, I'm going to take the value of highest peak. So now this is the value of the brightest pixel as the system is moving. I'm going to log this, and we can pass by all those. And this value will be the highest value, so when we don't see anything, or just a bit, and we are going to drop it down to this threshold. And you can see like this will be our first layer. Now we want to duplicate this layer 10 times, and to have this value stepping from 0.1414 till 0. So to do so, I'm going to create a new one, and what I want is this value divided by the number of layer we have, multiply by 1, 2, 3, 4 till 10. So I'm going to drop this here. Oops, sorry, not this one. And I'm going to use this to cut it. And so we want this multiply divided, sorry, so by 10. And so now we have the biggest value we have, so 10 to 0. And so it's divided by this, and we want to multiply it by 9. And we are going to do, so you can see like if I put pause, you can see like this is one layer, this is the second layer, and we want to have that for 10 layer. So I'm going to do it and maybe jump cut it, else it will be long, but so next one, and I'm going to multiply it by 8, and so on till 1, 2, and 1. So it's a bit long to do and not really fun, but now we have it, and what we want to do is actually to create long texture in order to instance the shape of our system. So I'm going, after my first threshold, I'm going to add a layout. And this layout, I'm going to connect all of the other systems. So I'm going to select all of them and plug it into the layout. So the layout will lay down all of the data, all of the tops in one top. And into command, I'm going to say custom resolution. And for the resolution, I'm going to use 64 by 64. And for the X resolution, this one, I'm going to use multiplied by 10 half layer. So I'm going to drop it down to passes, and then copy, cut this one, and multiply by this. Output aspect, I'm going to say resolution. And then I have the map of all the data together with each layer going, but as you can see, it's going from 0 to not the last layer. As you can see, it's not exactly, we don't have all the data we need for it. And it's because into this layout, max colon, we say 8, and we want 10. So now that we have the first side of our model, we want to do exactly the same, but have the second side of our model. So to do so, I'm going to copy the camera as well as all this, and we are going to find the other side of the model. So the camera will be a bit different. It will be in minus 0.23, and we will turn it by 180 degree. And now we will do again the analyze of it, because this model is symmetrical, but maybe you have a model which is not symmetrical. So I'm going to just run the analyze to wait for the trail to run like 4 seconds. And no surprise, we have exactly the same value, but yeah, again, it's because this model is symmetrical. So now we have this value, and oh yeah, into the threshold. The problem is like it's taking the value of the above analyze, so I can change it by hand, which will take quite a long time. So maybe we should have above set constant operation in order, or like null somewhere to avoid renaming all of this. But again, if your model is symmetrical, you don't need to change this, because the analyzed top will be exactly the same value. So now we have both sides of our model. We have right side and left side. And what I want to do is to lay out those two sides and then use them as the color map for our system. So I'm going to add a layout after the first one, and I'm going to put the second into the layout 3. Max colon we can leave it to 8. We don't need it to be more than 8. We can even put it to 2, but it doesn't change a lot. The thing is, like, we want not this resolution, so we want a custom resolution, and we want it to be twice as long as the first layout. So we are going to put 64 by 64, and in X resolution we are going to use not 10 half layer but 20 layer. So I'm going to add it there and multiply it by the second. So now we have a resolution of 1280 by 1280, and our resolution is like 1280 by 1280, so we are good to go. And I'm going to connect a null to this and call it null color. I'm going to drop down the null color into instance 2 and say RGB and A. So as you can see, we have some issues there. So I'm going to raise a bit the point sprite to 2 so we can see better. And yeah, as you can see here, the points are like not set up. They are not well aligned. So we need to, you can see this one should be, this part should be there and this part should be there. So to do that, we go to layout 3 and we say layout from right to left. And then still we have some issue. They are not well aligned, and this is because here we have to transform our render and to turn the picture on the other side. So I'm going to add a transform, and in the transform scale I'm going to put -1. So now they are well synchronized between each other, but again we have an issue. This one should be on the other side, or it should be reversed. So I'm going to head to layout 2 and I'm going to say from right to left. So now if we look at it, oh, still wrong, so right to left, sorry, right to left, left to right here. And yeah, now the model seems to work well. The thing is, like, it's really spread across 0 to 1 because our matrice was set up to be from 0 to 1, and the 0 to 1 is in the wrong parameter because we go like from 0 here to 1 here. So what we want to do, because it's way too too long, we want it to be maybe from 0 to 0.4. So in our ramp we are going to click on the bright part of it, and value will be 0.4. And now it's better. We have it like way more narrowed, and it looks a bit better. Maybe we can even go to 0.2 or 0. Actually we can go to 0.28 because yeah, it's the addition of the two values we have here, so it should be something closer to reality. And now the problem is, like, if we go to our reorder and look up again, we can see like we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's because here in our level we divided 1 by this, but we want to multiply it by the value here we have here. So we say multiply by 0.28, and now now we have again all the layer we need. So now we have it, but you can see the silhouette is a bit crushed, and this is because in layout 3 we can scale resolution there, and now we are back to the silhouette as it should look. So now that we have it, it's good. We have our 3D matrice displaying only the pixel we want, but what we want actually is a droplet effect. So to do so, what we want is the UV grid to fall like rain, and to do so I'm going to transform our top system. So I'm going to insert an operator, and I'm going to insert a point transform. And this point transform, I'm going to offset it in order so it falls. So to do so, I could either add an expression like uptime.seconds minus uptime.seconds, but I want to have control over the speed of it, so I'm going to add a constant, and this constant I'm going to call it speed, and I'm going to link it to a speed, and then to a mat, and then to a null, and this null will be called null speed. The mat will be, because we want to negate it, and we are going to say negate, and in speed I can put 1, and so now we have a falling value, and in point transform I'm going to say the translate to minus something. So now our grid is falling, and what we want is when it reaches minus 0.5, which is or 0, when it's low value of our system, we want it to start again at 0.5. So to do so, I'm going to connect a limit stop, and I'm going to loop it, and I'm going to say minus 0.5 and 0.5. So now we have it falling and doing a turn, but be careful. Into the command pages we want to mask the R, G and RG channel, R and B channel, and only keep the green channel. So now we do have our pixel falling, but now the picture is not synchronized with it, and it's because here it's still set up like it's not moving. So we are going to insert an operator, a transform operator, and into the translate Y we are going to use speed, but we want it minus this speed, and in the tile pages we want to repeat it. So now we have our character moving along the UV grid falling, UV matrice, and what I want to do is to create more the droplet effect. So to change it to create this waterish effect. So first things we are going to do is to change our point system with the sphere system. So I'm going to add a sphere top. Into the primitive type I'm going to choose polygon, and detail I'm going to keep the frequency at 2, so it's kind of light. And I'm going to chain it with a transform, and the uniform scale will be 1 divided by 1024. And I'm going to connect this to the geo and get rid of add and convert top. Then I'm going to change as well the material, and I'm going to add a PBR. And in order for it to work, I'm going to create an environment light. And this environment light needs an environment map. So we will create one with a noise top. We are going to change the resolution to something higher, like 1920 by 1080, and we, in the transform top, we scale it down so it's a bit more stretched, and linked it to a lookup. Then create a ramp, and to the ramp the bright part will be bluish, and yeah, going to connect the look up to it, then connect it to a null that will act as an environment map. So now we see we don't see much, but in this render we can see we still have the running FBX. So into the geo we are going to choose only geo1. And yeah, nothing much happened. So we are going to change a bit the setup of the PBR, and we are going to raise the base color by 2.5. So we can already see something, and the metallic will be like around 0.55 and roughness around 0.13. And we are as well going to change the alpha font to something slower, like 0.25, and into the command we are going to set up the planning transparency on. So now we have something which looks better in terms of color, but still it's we are kind of far away from what we want. So first we are going maybe to get rid of this too much grid effect where we can really see the matrice. So for that I'm going after this limit. I'm going to insert a noise stop and connect both entry of this noise stop. I'm going to change the offset to 0. The period will be smaller, like 0.03. Amplitude as well will be like really small, 0.011. And then we can go into the transform page and we can change the scale to 0.2. And same, we want to animate this noise, so I'm going to, but the translate Y, I'm going to choose our null speed. Now we cannot really see it. Maybe if I zoom in a bit, we can see it's falling, not perfectly in a grid, but the particles or the sphere are always the same size, and we want it to be a bit bigger. So after this transform term, I'm going to insert a null, and from this null, I'm going to create another null, which will be used to drive the scale map. So it's going to be called null scale, and into our geo instance, we are going to use this null scale as the operator and RGB. So now to really have like falling effect, we can even create a feedback system to have some feedback effect of like a falling rain. So after the transform, I'm going to insert feedback, connect it to a level, then to a transform, and we are going to composite with an over operator. So be careful to choose the transform as the first entry and feedback as the second, and into the feedback I'm going to choose the target top over. And so we can see it's kind of falling and creating too much feedback. So into our level we are going to choose a smaller value like 0.55, and now we can see like there is some feedback effect, but we can give it even a bigger one by choosing to translate it by 0.1 into the y-axis, and yeah, we have something more like falling thing. And still we cannot really see too much, so what I'm going to do is to add a bit of scale and as well of color, and for that I'm going here to insert a constant. Into the output pages, in operation I'm going to choose add, so it's basically adding colors and scale to all of those pixels, and this constant will be, we are going to give it like 0.25 of alpha, so it's not too big, even something smaller, maybe 0.185. Yeah, it's way better. But now what I would like is to have the scale to change over when it falls. So for that I'm going again to insert a noise, and I want the noise not to act on all the the pixel falling, but only on the one where, or mainly on the one where there is a character moving. So I'm going to multiply by this one. So now it's looking better, but I'm going to transform a bit the noise. So the noise will be like a way smaller period, like 0.0.1. And we can choose the exponent to 1.78. Amplitude will be way bigger. So we start to have like those drop being way bigger, and we can as well change the scale of here into 0.2, and maybe we can raise the offset as well so they are a bit bigger. Yeah, it's starting to look good, I guess. What we can do now is maybe if we turn a bit the camera to see, so we still have kind of this grid effect. So same here into the noise, maybe we can animate this noise into the white translate. We can use our speed, and it's already looking, I feel, way better. So let me check. What we should do as well is to add maybe some other light. So I'm gonna put a light on the side and change this position to light from a different angle, a normal light this time, and light color can be maybe a bit pinky, so it creates kind of a reflection. And if I press pause and I zoom into the system, we can see, yeah, this small reflection of the light on the side, which creates a nice bubbly effect. Of course, it's not really realistic, but it's getting closer to what I want. But still we have this grid effect, so let me check why. Maybe it's into this noise. Yeah, into this noise we have to get rid of the monochrome, otherwise it will keep this grid effect. So now what we can do, even to add a bit of more of lighting effect, is after the render we can insert a bloom operator, and we can maybe raise a bit the pre-black level, and yeah, we have something a bit more nicer, a bit more sparkly. And yeah, in this tutorial I'm not going to show you how to make the camera turn around our subject, but you can pretty much see it's kind of 3D. So I hope like you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you learned a few things. The file will be available on my Patreon, and thanks for watching.